You wanted direct-to-consumer streaming for Twins games, Twins fans, and you got it. The Twins announced Tuesday that they will partner with MLB to not only broadcast their own games, but will do so with a process that eliminates most blackout scenarios. We'll talk about the details and what it all means right after we get Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to destination for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite show on the Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team every day. I'm co-host Dave Brown, a professional ball writer since 1998, a BBWA member since 2012, and a Baseball Hall of Fame voter since this year. Please follow me on Twitter at AnswerDaveBrown if you like. Across from me in cyberspace is Brandon Warren, a Twins watcher for 30 years, who not long ago covered the team on a daily basis professionally. He asks that you elevate the discourse with him on Twitter at Brandon_Warren. Here's what's coming up on this podcast. The Twins are partnering with MLB, like the Padres, D-backs, and other teams have done or soon will do, to break free from the Diamond Valley Sports yoke and produce their own games on their own channel. One of the upshots is there will be no more blackouts. Well, almost no more blackouts, because when the Twins play on a national broadcast like Fox or ESPN, they could be subject to a blackout. But this is going to, in Twins territory anyway, this is going to take care of that. So people in Iowa say, who are unable to watch most games before because they couldn't figure out VPN or they were scammed, you'll be able to do that now for a fee, of course. But before we get into those details, we're going to ask Brandon how he's doing and who's bringing us this fine show.
Well, we're doing pretty good on this, and good afternoon, sports fans. This episode of Locked On Twins is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. And yes, Dave, you know, when you texted me to let me know that we should have an episode on this, I actually hadn't seen the news break. I was in a parent-teacher conference, a good one, not a bad one, I should note. But yeah, between that and the radio rights being renewed with WCCO, plenty of meat on the bone outside of autopsy stuff for us to talk about in this episode.
Very good. Well, I hope the kids are progressing well at their respective schools. That's the most important thing, not this baseball stuff. Yes.
There was a player who made his major league debut in September who went to my daughter's school, which was kind of cool.
And that would be who?
Seth Halverson. He was a pitcher for the Rockies. So
I know that name.
It was like they named the player of the year, and he won player of the year in like 2019 in Minnesota, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of cool. I mean, it's a tiny school. My daughter has like 60 kids in her class. There's 3 sections in second grade. Gotta make sure I get the grade right. So yeah, it's cool to see a big leaguer. I had a big leaguer from my school, but just one growing up. We had a similarly small school. So it's always fun to see guys come from small little programs and schools.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully Seth, is it Seth Halverson?
I believe so.
Yeah. Hopefully he comes back for like, a show and tell or daddy day at work or just a homecoming type deal. And your daughter gets to meet him and
I would
ask him questions about baseball like you do with the adults. So that's cool.
She's got the same kind of inquisitive mind, so she might be the heir apparent for Locked On Twins. Who knows?
Right. All right. Well, let's get her in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So here's the upshot. No more blackouts, like I said. The Twins are going digital. They're going to own it themselves or partner with MLB. And David St. Peter, the Twins president, basically said, this is what everybody asked for. And I kind of did a little cringe when he said, this is what you guys wanted. And I felt like, well, where's the other shoe going to drop on this? And there's some details, I suppose, to be worked out. But as you're kind of in the epicenter of it first. Is this good? Do you think this is good? What's happening with the Twins broadcasts?
I mean, I think resolution was key. Like having something early in the offseason, not only from a fans figuring it out standpoint, because you've got now all winter to figure out, hey, will my broadcast provider that I already have carry the game, or will I have to subscribe, or whatever. I think the resolution is key. I also think too, it was just a cloud hanging over the team because, again, everybody's going to go back to budget. And the Twins said they weren't going to reduce payroll, which is, again, not really saying that much with how much they have already committed to player salaries and earmarked for arbitration guys. So in general, I think at least it's a means to an end. I don't know that it's going to satisfy a lot of people. And I'm also, a little concerned about the older folks that don't know enough about streaming. Now, again, it'll be on cable platforms that had it before, is my understanding. So if you had, like, I have DirecTV Stream, I suppose it's going to be on there as well. And it's going to be a 24/7 channel that just kind of comes up when the game is being played and then disappears when it's not. If you have a DVR or whatever and you thumb through the channels, you'll see those channels where it's off air or like has a game going on. So I think it's going to be that kind of deal. But resolution is good. I don't know if it's everything fans wanted. And I think Dave St. Peter has taken a bath on this in the last year, fair, unfair, or otherwise, as the forward-facing executive in charge of business partnerships. And I don't know if this is the resolution everybody wanted, but it's, there's a lot of questions people are asking. Why not do this a year ago? Why not do this or that or the other thing? And again, how is it going to affect revenues? And still a lot of questions, which is why you and I are going to be able to squeeze an entire episode out of it.
Yes, but maybe at least one episode. There might be more in the future. You brought up an interesting point. People that already were watching the Twins and able to watch them on their local cable packages using Bally Sports. Bally Sports has been cut out, but this new channel is just basically going to be, it's going to carry those types of games from before. I don't know what the links and the other local teams are going to do as far as attaching themselves. I don't know if they're
There's a rumor going around that the Wolves are in the mix for a similar thing. Now, the Wolves right now are one of the hottest things in town. Obviously, making it to the big dance last year, as far as they did, is big. But Dane Moore, a good friend of mine who is probably the premier or in the conversation for premier Wolves writer / types in this city, said that he had heard some rumors that the Wolves are going to do something similar. So I'll be on the lookout for that too, because ideally you wouldn't have to have separate things for each of these teams, because then again, that's where the rubber meets the road and people get frustrated again.
Well, that can add up to being expensive if people have to resort to that. Now, the prices, they haven't said anything about prices yet, but the prices for the Padres and the Diamondbacks and the other teams that converted to this model of distribution this season, $99.95 or whatever, $99 for a year for a season, $19.95 or $99 a month. So you have those options. And you mentioned, I wanted to point this out. People in San Diego, I talked to a couple of them who watch the Padres, and this person in particular was able to. It was almost like nothing had changed. The Padres weren't on Bally Sports anymore, but they were on their own channel, and their cable system carried it like they had before, and they did not see an increase. They did not have to pay $19.95 a month or another $100 a year on their cable bill to watch the Padres this season. All of that is subject to change, but at least for the first season in San Diego, there were people in the local coverage area who it was almost like nothing had changed, except it wasn't on Bally Sports anymore.
You just had to find the channel.
You just had to find a new channel. So assuming and presuming makes us all look silly, but I would not be surprised if that is possible for a lot of fans in the Twin Cities who don't have carriage right disputes like Comcast did with the Twins. And that was solved in August. Maybe even Comcast will be one of those places where you could just keep on keeping on and you'll be able to watch the Twins. I think what this does beyond those details is it gives people an option if there are carriage disputes with their cable, or if they live in, kind of the Badlands, if you will, if they live in a place that isn't really close to the Twin Cities, but they get blackouts anyway. This gives them an option. It might cost them more money than they want. It might be a little bit of an inconvenience. And, you talk about older folks who aren't necessarily electronically inclined. There could be some hiccups there, but it does extend the Twins' reach into more homes potentially, and it keeps them in some kind of revenue stream. And those are important details. I know fans just want to know about wins and losses, but there are things that go into making a successful organization. And the Twins resolving their digital issues, streaming and broadcast, and the future of that, it's very important stuff. It's
I don't mean to jump in. Sorry. Distribution will be fascinating, because if there were cable systems that had been nudged out due to the ongoing contract disputes, I don't know how that distribution works, how that goes with revenue. So like DirecTV Stream was good. There's Xfinity, there's Comcast. I don't know if any of those overlap. I'm not a cable TV genius, but if they can regenerate distribution in previously what's the word I'm looking for?
Untapped resources,
where it hadn't been distributed before either ever, or had been taken away and bring it back. I don't know if those are on the table. I think there's a lot more underneath the surface that we're not going to understand until eventually it just starts happening. Kind of like when there's a rule change in MLB and you have like the consequences of it, like the sliding rule at second base, where did you come off the base for a split second? Oh man, now you're off the base. The things that we don't think about until they're in motion. I'm curious to see what kind of things like that come out, because, looking at it as we are, it's like, okay, this is cool. This is, but are the secondary things that we're not thinking about right now, are they going to be generally positive, generally negative? I don't know where I stand on all that. And I still think I have more questions than answers, which is kind of a perpetual condition for me.
Well, maybe we'll have more answers after we take our first commercial break, but let's do that right now and get with some sponsors.
This episode of Locked On Twins is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, in the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. Yeah, we're running out of cities for people to visit in the postseason. I think Jeff Passan said today is the last day that we'll have as many as, or actually more than 2 MLB games here for the duration of the 2024 calendar year. So again, get locked in, get locked on, and get excited about that. And with that said, though, Booking.com wants to help you if you want to head to KC. If you head to KC, maybe stay with Dave. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, Dave. I'm not trying to put you out there like that. But
don't dox me.
I don't think you're on Booking.com, actually. But they do have hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com. You might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival city during the postseason. And again, there's Detroit, Cleveland. I mean, there's so many cities that people are going to get a chance to visit as postseason baseball continues. Thrilling stuff on the field. You can do fun stuff off the field with your stay with Booking.com. Highly recommend it. With Booking.com's wide variety of choice across the U.S., you can go incognito to all your favorite baseball cities, whether it's your rivals or just anyone you want to visit. I don't have a lot of issues with San Diego. They're not a rival for me, but I'd love to check it out with Booking.com. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. That's Booking.com, Booking.yeah.
If anybody out there is coming to Kansas City for Royals, Yankees, you're free to. I can't really show it to you because I'd have to get up and it would be just kind of a mess. You can sleep on this love seat that from where I do the podcast. So you'd have to be very short to fit your entire body on it, but you're welcome to do that, and we'll work out the fees later. Kind of like
I'm getting
podcasts.
The Office vibe where he sleeps on the end of the bed on that little cushion because Jan needs the bed. So, yeah,
right.
I feel that it may not be as comfortable as Booking.com, but hey, beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to diverge a little bit, I don't know, do any Twins fans give a rip about the playoffs without the Twins in it? I would say most baseball fans of a certain team,
Right.
no matter what that team is, they care about that team. And if the rivals are playing, if there's a big game on TV, it isn't quite like the NFL or
Right.
other sports. I think people kind of stick to their own team, and I don't know if they care about that the Royals are still going, or maybe it irritates them. It might irritate me.
I think it's difficult because you obviously don't want the Yankees to win, right? As a Twins fan,
Sure.
then your alternative is 3 divisional rivals. So who do you want to represent the AL in the World Series? And then who do you want to see them get stomped by in the World Series? Like, I think that's kind of the prevailing theme is like, yeah, over here, I'm going to say, hey, Royals fans, I support you. Hey, Tigers fans, I support you. By the way, I would love to see you get stomped by the Padres or the Phillies or the Mets. I mean, the Mets seem to be one of those teams that has that October energy that gets it done in the month of, like I said, October in the postseason. So I think we're all kind of secretly hoping like whoever gets out of the AL just gets smoked by whoever wins from the NL side.
Honestly, I think the best teams in the league, and not just the hottest teams, but the best teams are in the National League. I mean, anybody can win 4 out of 7 or whatever in a World Series. I don't see it happening from the AL side. I just don't. Maybe I'm just a negative Nelly on the Guardians or whatever. But
it's all the more reason that it will happen, because if we don't see it,
yes.
the postseason is like the old adage: if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. I don't think that the Tigers are going to do very good in the postseason. All of a sudden, they go off on a run, and I love baseball for that very reason. But it also is like, I wish just that my team would perform the way I think they will and take care of business. And I tell you what, as a Twins fan or a Twins type, that has not happened much in the last few years.
No, it's not like the quality of the games have been decent, more so in the Cleveland series, the Cleveland Detroit series, than New York, Kansas City.
That's a fun series, man.
Yes, and it's fun. If you think for a second, if you dismiss all your feelings about how the Twins could be doing this, and they could be, if things had gone better, but they didn't. So we can only lament it so much. But I don't look at the teams in the American League and go, wow, that's a mountain that's too high for the Twins to climb. Absolutely not. It makes me feel the opposite. Confirms sort of what I thought
Your
before.
priors.
Yes. That said, I think the Tigers getting to the World Series would be kind of a fun, neat story above all the other stories that are
so fun, wouldn't it? Tigers Mets.
It would be. I think the Padres, though, they look. I don't know if they're going to like. The Padres have never. That's a team that's never won the World Series, and I think they haven't been since '98. And I of course remember them beating the Cubs in the '84 NLCS, and I think that would be a good team too. I think a Padres Mets NLCS would be pretty fun.
Yeah,
and but a Mets Tigers, that would be some good kind of old school baseball there happening in the World Series. So we'll see what happens.
I don't need to see any more of the Dodgers. Like, no disrespect to the Dodgers, but they kind of are there all the time. It's
right.
Not like the Astros with ALCS appearances. What was it, like 7-8 straight years, something like that?
Right.
Let's be candid for a second, though. Who do you want to see come out of the Tigers Guardians series? Like putting on your fan cap. For me, it's a dunce cap. I want to see Detroit come out.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's because I have had some spats with Guardians fans, or at least I've been kind of annoyed by some of their behaviors. But also too, like I love our Locked On Guardians guys, Justin and Jeff, and I saw him say, "You got to win one of them." I think it was Jeff said, "You got to win the next 2 because if you face Scooble in Game 5, it's over." And so that is, you look at a series and you're like, man, that's bleak to be tied 1-1 and feel like if you lose one of the next 2, it's over. But that's kind of where it's at. That's how good Tariq Scooble is right now.
Yeah, Justin from Locked On Guardians, one of my preferred Twitter followers. Few people know more about the game.
Dude. Great dude.
Yeah, he's a very good dude, and few people are better informed than him. So yep. I feel bad kind of rooting against the Guardians, but the Tigers beating the Guardians in this round would validate my own feelings, my own biases, if you will, about the Guardians from the regular season.
Mhm.
I look at Clase throwing all those sliders and throwing one too many to Kerry Carpenter, and just thinking about the time that Stephen Vogt put him in 4 straight days, in early September for a save, and probably didn't need to, considering that the rest of the bullpen is so good. And I just wonder if finally those chickens are coming home to roost. So just from a visceral, I was right all along standpoint, I'm pulling for the Tigers to do the upset. And I agree that Tarek Skubal in a game 5 is that's really bad news for Cleveland. So they do have to come out of there with come out of Detroit with probably win the series there, or else they're
so crazy
lose.
to think of it that way, though, isn't it? Like 1-1, and you feel like your back's against the wall.
Well, and I like Jose Ramirez too. It's funny though when like Cy Louis points out his lack of clutch stats, and then he makes a bunch of outs. I chuckle partially when that happens, but I like him, and I think he's a fun player. So I don't necessarily root against him or anybody from Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland hasn't won a series since 48. So those people have suffered for quite a long time, despite all the division winning and occasionally getting far in the playoffs that from the mid 90s that happened up until the early 2000s. So but they don't have great ownership. I think the Twins have better ownership than the Guardians do.
Ooh, that's true, but it's tough. That's a faint with damning praise, or damning with faint praise, or however you say it.
Yeah, the Guardians, by the way, are another of the teams in the Twins boat that are going to partner with MLB and do their own. They're leaving Bally Sports, and or Bally Sports left them, and they're going to do their own broadcasts, and it's going to be that's an organization where they've had trouble drawing. That was the Guardians were a big deal in the mid 90s when the Browns left, and people were like, well, what do we do? What do we do? There's no LeBron yet. So everybody went to Guardians games, and it kind of stopped going. And one of the reasons I think is poor ownership, but another one is the bloom's kind of off the rose there, and they're not as dominant as they once were. It's not as fun to go to the new ballpark on the lakefront. So they Guardians fans and Twins fans, there's a little bit of a kinship there that neither wants to recognize, but it's real. They've gone through some similar experiences. But we'll get back to Twins TV after we take this break, and Brandon, show us our fine sponsors.
Well, first up, we've got FanDuel. NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can go to FanDuel, check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. It's basically red zone for your phone, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Again, FanDuel, the FanDuel app, FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. And if you're looking for tickets, Gametime is the place to go. If you're looking for not only sports, but concerts, comedy shows, you name it, they've got it at Gametime. The Gametime app is what you need. But go to gametime.co.co if you're not going to download that app. And I got to tell you, I have been just in love with the all-in pricing feature. You click toggle, it tells you exactly what you're going to pay when you get to the end of your transaction. You don't have to worry about those fees that add up at the end that you don't see coming. It's no bait and switch like the other guys. And honestly, you just go to your city or your market, and it'll show you all different events. I was scrolling through, and I was seeing things into 2025 for Minneapolis. Nice to have some medium to long-term planning for outings for you if you want to go out on a Friday or Saturday night, or if you're a person that is way more adventurous than me, maybe a Tuesday or Wednesday night. That's not really my thing, but Gametime takes care of you with panoramic seat views. By the way, you pick your seat or you pick where you want to sit, and it will show you what you will be looking at ahead of time. So you have no issues with, oh, what's my view going to look like when I get to the ballpark or when I get to the concert venue? You're going to know exactly what you're going to be seeing, and the lowest price guarantee. If you find it lower elsewhere, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Let's kind of circle back and review some of the questions.
I did have one question.
Yeah.
If I have MLB.TV and I live in Minnesota, am I out of luck, or will that actually work for me? Because it was unclear to me.
Yeah, you're not out of luck, but you might be out of pocket a little more. If you have MLB.TV, you're going to have to also purchase, if you have the overarching package, according to people in other cities who've gone through this already. You're going to have to buy an extra tier for the Twins game. So you're not going to be covered by your initial MLB.TV, but you will have it open to you to pay more money to watch the Twins on MLB.TV if you pay this additional fee, which is to be determined. I would imagine that it'll be, north of $50, maybe less than $100. So
yeah, but then I could probably also watch the opposing broadcast too. Like,
that's true. You get those options. You can put the radio call.
I'll just be candid with you. I watch a lot of the other broadcasts. Red Sox Twins. I'm watching the Red Sox broadcast because not that I don't have a lot of love for Corey Provis, Justin Morneau, and friends, but it's just another view of things that I may not be getting from the local broadcast. Yeah. So every now and then I'll dive into the other broadcasts. And again, if they're playing Detroit, who doesn't want to listen to Jason Benetti?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when we first got cable TV, or when we go on vacation and stay at a Holiday Inn or whatever that had it. That was one of the neat things for me, was watching baseball games with other broadcasters. Mm-hmm. Or, USA Channel used to broadcast baseball games, sort of like TBS, how it does now. And it was neat to see. I saw a White Sox game in 1982 with national broadcasters on USA. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. It is neat to see other teams' broadcasters. People, though, they had a question about, well, what does this mean for Corey Provis and Justin Morneau and the rotating analysts that did Bally Sports? And those guys are all employees of the team, basically. So they, it's all subject to, will they remain employees of the team? But presumably Provis is going to stay as the play-by-play guy, Justin Morneau as 1A on the analysts, and the other guys will be available to fill in as needed. So that kind of thing. And Audra, I guess, that's a good question about Audra.
No, I think they said she's a Bally employee because she was their press passes would say rights holder.
Yeah. Okay.
I think rights holder differentiates from team employee. It's a very murky distinction, but I think that it permitted them to fly on the team's charters, but not be considered a team employee. It's all murky, and I'm not entirely sure. But I'm sure we'll have resolution because a lot of people are asking. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that comes out.
Well, I think it will matter. Is Bally Sports going to have, we talked about the T-Wolves a little bit. Are they still on Bally Sports?
Well, and the Wild, Audra Martin is kind of like the one that everyone's worried about. The blonde gal who does the catch with Audra and all those things. And she's a big time Wild personality, Minnesota Wild, not wild person as far as her personal conduct. But and again, too, if all these teams split, what becomes of Bally, the channel? Is it just going to be Kent Herbeck Outdoors and Ron Shera's Wildlife and all that? Or, what? I'm eager to see how it all settles out to where does Bally's channel just cease to exist?
Right.
I don't know. I'm curious, and I don't have any of the answers.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody has all these answers yet. We kind of are demanding of the Twins and of the channel, tell us how the future is going to hold, what it'll hold. I'm not sure if they know yet. I don't know if I would bet that Audra doesn't know yet where she's going to be, because she's got duties in other sports, and how long is that going to last? We don't know. Could she moonlight? Does she want to? I think there's a lot of things that are up in the air, especially with Valley still going through its financial reconstruction or bankruptcy, as they call it. So
yeah, and for her, the Wild start tomorrow. So I mean, she's already got that on her plate. I mean, I'm not going to bother ask her about it, but she's probably feeling the pressure of like, okay, well, what's next after this Wild season?
It's a difficult. I mean, I'm not a TV person, obviously, but it's a difficult thing to be, beholden to corporate interests and not knowing what your future is going to be. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. So, not to get all maudlin, but hopefully it works out and Audra still gets to do the Twins games because I like her. She was a softball player in high school and college, and she knows what her stuff and does good interviews. And I hope she's still part of it as everything goes forward. But that probably can wrap it up for this episode. You think? Hey, and then maybe when we know more, we'll tell you more.
Make sure you're hanging out with Sully on Locked On MLB, though. Thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen. But for your second, go check out Locked On MLB. Get ready for the Fall Classic with Sully, a.k.a. Paul Sullivan. He's got it covered every single day, wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, it's your team every day.
Hey, be sure, even though you don't care, be sure to look for my story on the Royals and Yankees.
Yes.
For what's it called?
Field Level Media.
Field Level Media.
Yes.
So I'm writing for that. I'll be at the Royals game today.
Take you out to the ball game.
Going out to the K for some playoff action for the first time since 2015. Okay. Yeah, right. These people will be staying with you for a while during the Royals series, Dave. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, for the cough man.
All right, for Brandon Warren, this is Dave Brown. Wishing you all a very pleasant good evening from Twins territory. Saying we'll see ya tomorrow night.